For most Americans, today is tax day. However, for us here in the Cover Killer Nation channel, and for those of you who have streamed in because of the title of this video, you know that today is Eternal Enemies Day. We have to talk about the new Emmure album. I last touched base with these guys was Slave to the Game, and they've since become basically a channel pariah. Somebody who's subjected to a lot of hate, someone that's subjected to a lot of laughs. I'm going to be subjected to a lot of laughs because I just couldn't say subjected to a lot of laughs. However, let's talk about Eternal Enemies. The reason why I keep talking about Emmure is basically because, just like any other band, I want to see how they mature, how their process kind of goes, and really if they get any better or if they just keep getting any worse. Now, I remember Slave to the Game. I remember the review well. I have the link to the review for you to watch in the description box below, and somewhere around me, I think. And so, that way we can kind of compare notes from that time and this time. So let's get to it. And I'm going to try to be actually kind of fair on this one. Eternal Enemies is 15 tracks long. It clocks in at less than 50 minutes in length. That way, you know, in case you have other shit to do during the day, such as go to work or lift some weights or masturbate for the 4th time, you got plenty of time. Even though there's 15 new tracks of Emmure, it's not something where it's going to bog you down for 75 minutes. That's got to be kind of cool, right? Alright, well, let's talk about the first single. The first single is called Bring a Gun to School, and this is something that's not even 2 minutes in length, and I don't even know if I could consider this a single. This was a terrible choice for a single. This is one where it just kind of goes into, like, ambient noise, and they're trying to set this up and trying to set the scene, almost like they're trying to use a little bit of visual representation throughout their music. Hey, there's evolution. However, it really falls very, very flat. It comes off as very, you know, attempted to be very ingenious about it, and, you know, very fair toward it. However, it's something where the lyricisms just kind of bog it down. It's almost like it's praising this idea. We just had another tragedy last week in Franklin, which is about an hour north of where I live. This is something that really we don't need. It's been determined that Frankie Palmieri is an asshole. It's been determined based around some t-shirts that he's designed. It's been determined based around this song. It's been determined based around some of his views on things. That he's just a general cock. He really just doesn't give a fuck. And, you know, as cool as that is, and as, you know, decent of a First Amendment, you know, flag-waving support that really is, this is something where there are some lines where if you cross them, the only thing that you're going to do is bring more negativity to yourself, which, if you really want to go off that idea that haters make you famous, good luck to that. It's something that does work for, you know, people who are popular right now, and while Emmure does have a little bit of popularity in the metal scene, it's not exactly like if Rihanna came out and said, "I'm happy that somebody stabbed 20 people." Yeah. If you see that happen, sure, it would seem like a train wreck. It would seem like the Miley Cyrus of 2014, but at the same time, she would still have a lot of people that support her. This is not something that's going to happen quite so much with Frankie Palmieri. The remainder of this album, the remaining 14 tracks, can really be summed up in very simple ways. A lot of the introductions to these songs are breakdowns, or at least something that can be construed as a breakdown, and there's definitely a lot of worship of the late 1990s, especially bands such as Korn, Disturbed, and Limp Bizkit. Which is fair, considering that's what a lot of Frankie Palmieri's principal influences happen to be. As a vocalist, it just so happens that the band was able to sort of reflect their style, somewhat surrounding that, only adapting it to more of the style that is, you know, big here in 2014 and, you know, in the years that have since passed. Kind of adapting a little bit of a deathcore/metalcore style behind it, which of course has become a very vogue term. It's become a very stylized idea. Hardcore fans and hardcore kids, hardcore bands even, are probably looking at all the other cores that are out there and think to themselves, God damn it. Anyway, I like one thing about this album. I like the fact that some of the spoken word lyricisms, some of the clean lyricisms on this album really do feel like it's a very stream of consciousness prose. It's something where it seems like Frankie just sort of wrote down his thoughts and didn't really give two shits whether or not it rhymed or not. It was something where it was more important that he kind of disguises his social commentary within his music. And I like the idea because on paper this is an idea that should work fantastically. However, whenever you listen to some of this stuff, you just see the underlying immaturity that Frankie really has, and this is something where, yeah, you can't fail at self-expression. Kevin Smith once said that, and he's absolutely right. However, it is very possible to have your form of self-expression be very simple-minded, very narrow-minded, and very geared toward just trying to provoke a reaction, and try to provoke some sort of attention to yourself based around the things that you say, whether or not you are, you know, disingenuous about it or not. And this is something where you just have to really kind of look at it at face value. It's just him trying to provoke a reaction, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen with a lot of people. It's going to happen with a lot of these songs. Now, if you're a music fan who's looking for, rampant musical diversity and fantastic evolution from one album to the next, the Emmure discography just never was for you. But this album's even further not for you, principally because this is something where, compared to albums in the past, it seems like they've even dumbed down the passive ability to create interesting music even further. This is something that becomes so formulaic after 7 or 8 tracks that the other half of the album almost doesn't even feel like it's worth listening to. And that's the goddamn problem that I have with this band, is that it seems so formulaic, it seems so generic. It definitely has a feel of the Nickelback of deathcore or metalcore, or whatever core you want to associate them with. And that's something that is not a good thing. A lot of people really seem to enjoy this kind of stuff, mainly because they hear a couple of songs and the sound, the tone, everything about it really kind of gives them something that they really enjoy. They really like it. And then they hear it for 15 tracks, so they're instantly satisfied. It's something where they don't need all the rampant evolution. They don't need all of the myriads of influences really coming forth and, swirling and flowing forth like a river. This is instead something where they want what they like, and if they get what they like for all the tracks, they're going to be satisfied regardless. And that's something that this album is probably bona fide to deliver to a lot of Emmure fans, because they like Emmure, they like their tone. This is 15 tracks of that tone, basically ad nauseum, so there you go. They're going to enjoy this album, and I'm going to be a big, big butthole. But I'm going to be that butthole, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be that asshole. I'm going to be that cockstain. I'm going to be that bald-headed motherfucker that you hate, who's also so goddamn fat. Because this album is a bona fide piece of trash. This is something that you shouldn't even use as a coaster, because your glass would reject being sat upon it. This is something where also you need to take a look and realize that Emmure has been putting out albums similarly to this throughout their entire career. But the difference is that even Slave to the Game, I have to admit, has more goddamn evolution on it than this piece of shit. It's one thing if you have a number of tracks that sort of sound similar. If you're following in vein with your style. This is not something where you have to have every song on the album have a different feel and a different tone and a different vibe to it, because that could easily throw off your listeners, because it might be too disjointed. It might be too just random. But having every single thing really fall upon the same idea, and really fall upon almost the same similar construction with some minor deviation, is really something that's also a negative also. It's the flip side, the inverse of that argument. It's the side that really showcases a lacking of true creativity. It's something that shows a lacking of any sort of musical evolution, or a real desire to have a musical evolution happen on an album, or from album to album. This is something that the monotonousness of it really only serves to hurt the band more than it does to help. And you're relying more so on edgy lyrics, you're relying more so on the song titles, you're relying more so on the breakdowns than you really are in just really constructing strong and sound music. And that's the goddamn problem that I have with this. Bring a gun to school. Frankie, bring a gun into the studio. Why don't you just shoot everybody in the band and just end this garbled mess? I know that sounds really kind of edgy. It sounds mean, doesn't it? Hey, if you can do it, I can do it too, pal. That's all that it really is. Girls don't like boys, they like 40s and blunts? Well, of course they do. They love 40s, they love blunts. Even if they're allergic to 40s and hate blunts, they still love it because you said that they love it. And they're going to love it because you're Emmure and they're stupid. 41 out of 100 is the score that I give this band, and I give this album principally for 2 reasons. Firstly, as I said, I did have to give it a little bit of stylistic point for the stream of consciousness prose idea, even if it was poorly executed. It is certainly something that you don't hear nearly enough in music anymore, so I have to give a little bit of value to that. And secondly, and most principally, is because regardless of whether or not you as a listener feels that the album is good or that it sucks, the band is still provoking a reaction out of you. They are still provoking a response out of you, regardless to whether it's because of the edginess of what their subject material is, either that or if it's just based around the musical construction and the musicality, the flow of the album and things like that, the more technical side of the musical coin. Either way, they're eliciting a response, they're eliciting a reply out of you, and that is something that Emmure is very, very good at. This is something where you will oftentimes see Frankie Palmieri and company's face plastered upon metal news sites, even though it's something that's becoming old hat, kind of boring and tedious, but it is something that still continues to happen. So, what did you guys think of Eternal Enemies by Emmure? If you liked the album, I'd like to know why in the comments below. Please tell me what you enjoyed about it the most. I don't want to make it sound like, why did you like it? That's so stupid of you to like it. That's not what I mean at all. I mean, why did you like it? What did you enjoy about it? What was some of your favorite tracks? What were some things that you felt they could have done a little bit better? Basically, I want you to tell me how you feel about this album. And also, if you're watching this video and you're new to Emmure, don't necessarily let me sway you. This is something where you have to experience this for yourself and determine whether or not you like it or not. So why don't you do that? Why don't you click on a YouTube video or something like that and come back and tell me what you thought about the song or the album in the comments below. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.